I, 30 male, have a preteen son with my ex-wife. During her second pregnancy, I was still married to her, and I thought the baby was mine. But then I learned she cheated and told the other guy that he was the father. I left the marriage and filed for divorce. And when my ex's son was born, I took a DNA test, which proved I was not the father to her younger son. We also did DNA on my son during the divorce. He is my biological son. The divorce went through. I pay a small amount of child support to even things out because I earned more than my ex. Ex was with this other guy for a few months of her son's life, but he was no longer around. She tried crawling back to me once he dropped out of the picture. She said our son was lucky to have me, and she'd love a dad for her second son. I told her she better go out and find a good man and not cheat on him. She looked shocked, and I told her she was delusional if she thought I would ever trust her again or want to raise her son as my own after what she did. She told me it would be better for the boys to be together always, and that with the 4-year age gap, they would never know the half of the stuff if she and I were to work together and raise them as ours. I firmly said no and told her she needed to focus on finding someone else if she wanted to give her son a father figure. 4 years later, my ex did not find someone else, and she still tried to push her son on me. I had to bring her back to court to arrange a neutral place for us to exchange our son, because when I picked him up from her house, she would have her younger son ready and waiting to come with me. It became a problem, and she refused to stop, so I thought meeting at some location for exchanges would help. It worked for a small period of time, but then on Friday, when I was picking my son up for my parenting time, she brought her younger son along, and he had a bag packed and was waiting to come with me. He walked over with my son, held his arms out like he wanted to be hugged or held, and said he was coming too. He looked so happy. I felt bad because I wasn't going to bring him. I gently told him to return to his mom. The poor kid looked so confused. I left with my son quickly, so no fight could ensue. Ex started texting me late Friday night and all day yesterday, saying I was an idiot and should have had my heart melt enough to let him come. She said I've proven to be a fantastic dad to our son, and she just wants the same for her son. Then she told me our son wanted his brother at my house, and I was an idiot for ignoring that too. I spoke to my son yesterday, and he never asked for that or said he wanted it. He did say his mom told him to say that he wanted his half-brother at my house too, and that he wanted me to be his half-brother's daddy, but he didn't care. Ex's words get to me though, maybe because I know her son doesn't really have anyone outside of my ex and my son is more into his friends than his half-brother. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but wow, that poor kid. That poor kid. I can't imagine what she's telling that little guy in private. He just wants love and wow. All I can think about is that look on that kid's face. Jesus, I'm so sorry, OP. You don't sound like a monster. You take care of your kid, and now she wants to come crawling back. And is using your kids to do it. Can you take her back to family court? Tell them what she's doing. Manipulating a child is a form of abuse. Your ex is still not taking ownership of her cheating or the consequences. She's trying to force you to be her second son's father. Telling him he was going with you and his brother was cruel, and no doubt she's calling you his father. Video record when you do handoffs. Print out any text convos that show she's pushing for this and using her kids to try to get to you. Have a friend go with you during handoffs and record that as well. The more evidence, the better. Yeah, that boy will be traumatized for life. As tragic as that is, this is not on you. This is all on her. You've been firm with your boundaries from day one. Your ex is the one who's dragging an innocent child into adult drama he doesn't understand. On top of that, she's dragging your son into it by coaching him to lie to you. If I were you, I'd go back to court and get this documented for both boys' sake. She will damage both boys if this doesn't stop now. A friend of mine from college is getting married at a destination I had dreamed of going to for a long time, but was totally out of our budget. Her uncle owns a resort and has offered amazing discounts on rooms to her guests. We've had this planned for months. RSVP'd, booked a room, arranged childcare, everything. Now my husband's brother wants to get married the weekend of my friend's wedding. They're not doing anything, just a quick ceremony and party in my in-laws' backyard. It'll be more like a family barbecue than any kind of actual wedding. My husband wants to cancel everything so we can be in town. I don't want to cancel for the reasons outlined above. We've been in an argument about it. I suggested that his brother could just move it to the weekend before or after. They don't have out-of-town guests, a wedding venue, or vendors booked, or anything that would stop them from being able to move it, so my husband and I can attend. It's just pure stubbornness. My husband isn't backing me up on this, and has been talking crap to his family about me, which I hate. He thinks I'm entitled. If his brother had a real wedding planned for months and involved a ton of time and money spent, I'd feel differently. But as I said, it cost them nothing to just change the weekend. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. How on earth are you being entitled? You RSVP'd yes to your friend's wedding months before your brother-in-law announced his wedding, and your husband went along with it. You made financial arrangements and have booked childcare arrangements, and you're supposed to renege on that because your brother-in-law decided on a whim to get married, and he expects you to cancel all of that to accommodate him? He's the one being grossly entitled, but your husband is the biggest idiot in this situation. He's failing to support you to his family and actively crap-talking you to them. To me, that's unforgivable behavior. You should go to your friend's wedding and leave your husband home. He will deliberately make sure you don't enjoy yourself during what should be a great time. Then he can enjoy his entitled brother's barbecue. She flat out says it's not a real wedding. She describes it as not an actual wedding. She puts wedding in quotes. You are the idiot, OP, for repeatedly making comments about brother-in-law's wedding not being a real wedding. It is, in fact, a real wedding. A destination and fancy resort doesn't make a wedding a real wedding. You're the idiot for demanding your brother-in-law change his wedding date to fit your schedule. His wedding is not your wedding. Genuinely curious, OP, if you had RSVP'd to the brother-in-law's backyard wedding first and then got this dream destination wedding invite from your friend, would you still feel so insistent on attending brother-in-law's wedding as you had already agreed to that first? Don't lie to yourself. I was on your side until you said your brother-in-law's wedding wasn't a real wedding. Then you became a huge elitist idiot. Look, she doesn't mean his wedding isn't a real wedding. She means his poorly planned event that was scheduled at the last minute without considering the availability of supposedly key guests who already had prior commitments in another country that the family now expects them to cancel happily. I mean, your marriage is real and just as valid as anyone else's. But if you got married in your living room, that wasn't a wedding. That's just a marriage ceremony. What the brother is doing is not a wedding. It's also a marriage ceremony. Your judgment is a little harsh, since OP met her brother-in-law had nothing solid booked. Not that the wedding wouldn't be real. So my girlfriend and I have been trying to have a kid, and we've been successful, and she's currently 2 months pregnant. We were just hanging out, and then she told me that she expected me to sell my motorcycle soon, because it was just too dangerous of a hobby to have as a soon-to-be dad. I told her I wouldn't do that, since I've been riding for the past 10 years and have been perfectly fine, and she's just overreacting. She told me that she wasn't going to budge on this, and that I had to do it. I told her that it wasn't her choice to make, and I wasn't going to give up my hobbies just because I was about to become a dad, and that she should have brought this up back when we decided to start trying for a kid. Am I the idiot for not wanting to give up my motorcycle after my girlfriend got pregnant? Not the idiot, because you're right that she should have mentioned that this was a deal breaker for her. I'm not sure what she means by not budging, though. Is she saying that she'll break off your relationship? She can't simply make these demands. Consider discussing that you'll be safe and take all safety measures. Everyone's the idiot here. I mean, yes, She should have known to clear this up when you were both trying for a pregnancy, but I also would be terrified of becoming a widow single parent if my partner rode a motorcycle, so I can empathize with her. All I ever hear from my hospital friends is how often they see these accidents and how horrific they are. By the way, after my girlfriend got pregnant, so you had no part in that? My dad quit riding his motorcycle when I was 2 or 3 because he encountered a motorcycle accident and was like, I can't do this anymore. I have a kid. He parked his bike and never rode again. I'm 45. The thing with motorcycle accidents is that it's hardly ever about a lack of skill or safety measures taken by the motorcyclist, and more often than not, about dangerous behaviors by others. You're so vulnerable on a motorcycle. OP, I hope you're seeing this. I don't think you're an idiot, but I hope you consider this. My husband, 29 male, and I, 27 male, went through the assisted pregnancy process and had our son a few months ago. We were thrilled when my sister, 31, announced her pregnancy, and we found out we would be having our children very near the same time. Our niece was born a little over 2 months after our son. My situation and my sister's closely mirror each other. Our husbands work typical 9 to 5s with 30 to 45-minute commutes. My sister's a stay-at-home mom, and I do freelance work from home. For the first 2 weeks after our son was born, the first of which my husband took off work, we would both take partial night shifts. Once I felt like I at least had some of my bearings on parenthood, I offered to take over entirely on weeknights while he did mornings before work and weekends. It's a collaborative process, and that breakdown of parenting just made sense to me. My husband was the one leaving our home to work every day. He was the one who had to be up by a specific time to make a drive. At 4 months, we no longer have this obstacle, and to be honest, I kind of miss the sweet, quiet bonding time those extra night feedings provided now that he's settled into a nice sleep schedule and usually only wakes up once. Still, we got it down to almost the perfect science before we exited the newborn stage. On the other hand, my sister is still in that phase and struggling. This has been a recurring problem for her from the beginning. She's been coming to me saying she's scared she'll fall asleep holding the baby, that her husband won't help her with the night feedings, etc. I tried to give her tips since I've been through it. I suggested she let her partner take over in the evenings, 6 to 9 p.m., so she can go to bed early, catch a few more hours, nap when the baby naps, etc. She shot down everything, saying that wouldn't work for them and that she needed her partner to do some night feedings. I reminded her that her husband's the one commuting in the mornings, and falling asleep while driving was a real possibility. I've lived through it, and so could she. I then offered to watch her daughter for a few days so she could catch up on sleep. She took major offense to both of these things. She said I belittled her experience and acted like a better parent. She said I couldn't truly empathize with her or give her valuable tips since she had been pregnant and I hadn't. My offering to watch my niece felt like me saying she needed my help raising her daughter. My intentions were definitely not malicious, but maybe, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. I'm sorry that your husband is so useless as an equal partner. If you're cool with that, fine, but for you to tell another woman how to manage conflict in her marriage is gross and out of line. Your sister wants her child's father to do his fair share of raising their child. She's hardly unreasonable for that. You need to nip your crappy judgmental attitude before you find yourself with no friends at all. Other mothers will not put up with you being so disrespectful about things that are none of your business. Not only that, but her body is still postpartum too. The dude hired a woman as a rental womb to acquire a baby and has no clue what that woman risked and has had to recover from because she carried and delivered that child. This dude is absolutely the idiot. This is why men's clothes have pockets, to keep all that audacity. He's mansplaining motherhood to a woman. Oh, you entitled idiot. This is an entirely different situation. Postpartum sucks. Your tits hurt. Your bottom hurts. Your back hurts. Your stomach hurts. Your hormones are crazy. And you need love and support from your partner, the person you're raising this baby with, this baby that she just built. If you want to be helpful, scream at your brother-in-law to get off his butt. I, 22 male, live at my parents' house while I job hunt. It's been rough living under my parents' roof for the first time in 4 years. One of the biggest things we argue about is my diet. So I've been on a body transformation journey since early April. Since then, I've dropped from about 190 to 160. As of this week, I'm 5'10". I've done this by doing a lot of cardio, weight training, and most importantly, calorie and macro tracking. I buy my groceries, cook my food, and am entirely self-sufficient when it comes to my diet. I ask nothing of my parents, other than time to use the kitchen so I can meal prep. My parents aren't supportive of this. They think what I'm doing is unhealthy and dangerous, which it isn't, partially because they've struggled with weight loss and see my way of doing it as extreme. This causes contention. My dad always talks about how he never did what I do when he was a Marine and in the best shape of his life. My mom always says I'm too skinny and need to eat more, which is typical mom behavior. We argue a lot since they just can't mind their business about it. Tomorrow's my grandmother's 94th birthday, and as much as I want to go, I don't feel comfortable for 2 reasons. The first is that it's a 3-day trip out of state to see her, which means I likely won't be able to stick as strictly to my diet or workout routine as I need to. The second being is that I know I would feel pressure to eat my family's food. It's all like Southern comfort food, so some of the most delicious foods that'll make you incredibly fat. I know my aunts and uncles will make me feel bad and constantly try to convince me to eat, and I don't want to deal with that pressure, plus the temptation since I know the food will be good. So I said I wouldn't be going. I explained to my parents why, and they weren't happy. My dad said I was being ridiculous, that I couldn't take 3 days off from my diet to see family, and that in the long run, 3 days wouldn't hurt. I told him that 3 days would ruin a week's worth of progress that I needed to make. I don't like taking cheat days because they always make me feel worse about myself, and because currently, I'm still too fat to have a reason to have a cheat day. My mom told me I was being selfish and that this could easily be my grandmother's last birthday. I told her that other people weren't attending in person and would FaceTime her to see her and speak, and I could do that. They said that wasn't acceptable, and that since I could go, I needed to go. I said that if I did go, I was just not going to eat for 3 days straight, and I didn't want to do that, so I wouldn't be going. I also mentioned that they don't know how to commit to weight loss, so they should stop lecturing me on what I need to do for my body. We reached an impasse until they left this morning and I didn't. I talked to my brother about it, and he told me I was being a huge idiot and I needed to go see them and apologize to my parents. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. As they said, it could be your grandma's last birthday. This could be your last opportunity to see her in person, to feel her presence. Don't miss that. Also, no one's going to be forcing food down your throat. Choose small portion sizes, and even good Southern comfort food includes veggies. Lastly, your parents are right to be worried because skipping events due to being afraid of the food that'll be offered is a sign of disordered eating. Being around food and being able to make good choices is one thing. Isolating yourself to avoid food is another. Agreed. And the fact that at 160, he still thinks he's too fat to have a cheat day is concerning. Not wanting to break a lifestyle change because you like it and how your body functions is one thing, but overcompensating is another. It sounds like OP could use some therapy to help him cope with the feelings he has around food and his parents. Dude, if you can't stop for 3 days for a significant event because the food will make you fat, then your program is too extreme. In 40 years, you won't regret missing 3 days of your diet, but you will regret not being there for your grandmother's birthday, perhaps her last. Consistency is vital, not perfection. And please don't turn dietary and gym stuff into your personality. You'll end up lonely if you don't balance the people in your life. Don't take those around you for granted. No matter how important your diet is, get your priorities straight.